Issue 162. We start out with some narration talking about how the new villain Anonymous plans to dispose of not only all sorts of evil villains who deserve it, but also Sonic and his friends for no reason, making him evil when he was so close to being a hero because he was disposing of villains. The narration says he decided to use Knothole. For what? He doesn't say. He just says that Elias is seeking to revive the old ways, as he's trying to dress up like the king with a crown and stuff. He looks ridiculous, I'm sorry. He looks way better as a prince with that princely outfit. I guess it's because he's too young for that crown. He says that he wants to return Sonic to knighthood for obvious reasons, and Sonic says that while he appreciates it, he doesn't need a title to keep him cool. I think it's redundant too. He's already the hero of the world, or rather hero of everything as he more clumsily puts it. Elias explains that he needs a new Court of Acorn, as his father was always relying on his old one, and Elias is insecure. Then narration says, starting with anyone who remains from the old court. Is this the villain talking or Elias? Probably Elias. Tails is approached in the lab by Merlin, and after Tails is stunned and not sure what to say, Merlin finally says, "I'm sorry I've been kept away from you for so long." So it wasn't his choice? He was kept away from him? Is there actually a reason they didn't raise him and train him to make full use of his magical powers as a kitsune? Well, they have an adorable hug as Merlin shows he cares about his nephew and promises to help rebuild their family. Although the hug would look a lot better if Tails' mouth didn't somehow extend below his actual chin. It's cringeworthy. He wipes away some tears of joy, and Merlin says that he wishes they had more time, which is good, but he has to speak with the king right away. Tails says that it's okay as long as he promises to stay. Also, there's some stern-looking guy in chain mail behind him that I don't trust one bit because of the way he looks. Merlin explains that the king, it's weird calling Elias that, somehow holds part of the key to saving the ancient walkers and to keeping Moggle safely trapped. He says this as we see him holding the Chaos Emerald that Moggle once had in his chest. Meanwhile, Adam tells Eggman that his egg grapes of captured echidnas are nearly complete. Eggman brags that once the erasures are complete, he'll be able to siphon power from the Zone of Silence, purifying it through the egg grapes, giving him the raw energy of an entire dimension. Purifying it? Why wouldn't he just say destroying it? Why would he feel the need to use a euphemism? M, showing hesitation I guess, asks why drain the Mobians, and asks him if he could reach his vision in a quicker way. And Eggman explains he's doing it so that their empty husks will act as a kind of filter. What does he mean by filter? Also, this is how they should have handled Adam and M, having them both be in the same scenes together all the time. Because that way I wouldn't have been so confused from M looking like a man and Adam being able to possess robots and talk through them. This way I know who the two are. After Eggman says that he's just sadistic, M seems to agree with him. And then Adam apologizes they can't identify the anonymous individual, the same one who had roboticized those criminals. Eggman complains that stealing his roboticization technique is unforgivable, and reveals that he had set his nanites to spreading when he was saving them for a special occasion. After we see some spider ninjas, the narration says that he's had to take into account divine intervention, as we see it there in Aurora. But the godlike ancient walkers are somehow easy enough to deal with. Somehow. A Thayer tells some ancient walkers that Merlin's on his way, and one of the walkers says that their preservation is no longer under their control. How? If these guys are super powerful, how the hell are they being so badly inconvenienced by a villain instead of just using their magic to imprison him effortlessly? It's an interesting idea, but makes no sense. An ancient walker explains that since the coming of the Chaos Emeralds, they've acted to preserve the world. Except they did nothing against Mammoth Moggle and Robotnik, and Sonic had to take it upon himself to save the world when the whole temporal destruction thing was happening. But let's ignore that. Now, though, for their diligence, they've suffered a mortal blow and their power is failing. Therefore, they've selected Aurora, Thayer, someone else, and Merlin to maintain the balance of the Chaos Force and protect the world in their seed as they're dying. Why the hell weren't they doing that already? What were they doing then? Bowling all day? And with the panel showing Mammoth Moggle and Emerald, one of the walkers says that something really bad is going to happen. What's with all the storm references? Unless it's an actual storm, it's getting redundant and kind of pretentious. Meanwhile, Tails is introduced to the one with Merlin, who's Sir Connery, a former knight to the king. Wait, is that the paladin that Knuckles met? Tails naturally asks why the hell he left, and he explains that he was summoned by the ancient walkers after he had completed his work on something I don't know in order to guard Merlin from the Destructics. which is the name of those criminals like the traitor dog who escaped from the gulag. And they just show up roboticized, just like that. It's a good thing that they explain this later. After Merlin gets attacked because the idea of using magic against him to protect himself would be too smart, he tells Tails to focus on getting the Chaos Emerald from the Lynx. The Paladin gets knocked down ridiculously pathetically, and Merlin is also insultingly easily dealt with, as Flying Frog says that he can't cast a spell if he can't take a breath. So, does he have to talk to cast spells? Even though plenty of other characters' magical powers don't need to talk to use them? I mean, Sonic doesn't have to say go super speed every time he runs. The heroes are getting beaten way too easily here. I'm remembering the time Nate got kidnapped all over again. And then Sonic shows up in a spin dash out of complete nowhere, as well as Fiona, Bunny, and Knuckles. Sonic says that they heard the Destructics in Furville, and it's explained that they're the Destructics now because they can't say the fearsome foursome when there's 6 of them. Oh right, I remember making fun of that name of theirs. I can't believe I forgot it. Then there's a quick panel of the heroes fighting, including Fiona fighting Drago, although I'm sure the fight would have been won without her just as easily. Knuckles tells Merlin to go to Ellie's immediately, while him and the Chaotix will clean up the mess. The Paladin explains to Elias that his duty by the Ancient Walkers had been purging the world of the vaguely named dark magic with a Sword of Light, and with that duty somehow finished, I guess by murdering everyone who used it, he was guarding Merlin and his captive mammoth Moggle. Merlin explains that Moggle had fallen into a trap set by the Ancient Walkers long ago, who foresaw Moggle to be a threat thousands of years ago. While they refused to combat Destiny because they were selfish assholes who didn't want to prevent people from being inconvenienced by him, they still cursed the emerald that Moggle was fated to obtain. The emerald always led Moggle to a key misjudgment. Why couldn't they have cursed the emerald to trap him much earlier if they're going to alter Destiny this way with the curse anyways? It's explained that once he was free of the Master Emerald, Moggle used the last of his strength to wound the Ancient Walkers and cause them to start dying. So he was strong enough to wound them, but not strong enough to kill them in any way. What kind of a wound takes that long for them all to die from? And again, why the hell can't they heal their wound with their super powerful magic? This wasn't thought all the way through. When they die, their charm over the emerald will break and Moggle will be free. Sonic then asks what they can do. I'm guessing find someone with strong enough magic to recreate the charm, but then the charm would have to keep happening over and over again by different people throughout history to maintain it. Why can't Shadow create the charm? I mean, he's super powerful. I have a question, why can't they just throw the emerald he's trapped in into a volcano and destroy him along with it? Elias says he's guessing he can help somehow, and is told that the crown and sword of acorns are essential to saving the Ancient Walkers. Somehow, Elias doesn't know what's so special about these artifacts, despite the fact that he was in the same room as the Source of All when Sally went into it. As Fiona looks happy with sad-looking eyes at holding Sonic's hand since they're both lonely, Sally gives us a pointless recap on the Source of All, explaining that the sword and crown can channel and produce a lot of magic. Well, duh, they're magical artifacts. They'd be pretty pathetic magical artifacts if they couldn't even do that. And they were made from the substance that is the base material for everything. You mean like that bullshit ancient scientific theory that water was the basis of everything? That's not how physics work. Everything is made of the same types of particles, at least all solid matter anyways, but they're made of different elements regardless. So how does that make sense? Everything is made of atoms, I guess, but that's not a substance, though. After some more worthless recap wasting panels of the comic, Elias says that he'll give the Crown of Acorns to protect his people from a future threat and give them hope. Good, he looks better without it. While some narration hopes that Arachnus' kids hadn't done anything stupid with the sword, we see them looking over Eggman and M. And after Adam says the biofield deletion of the people in the egg grapes is complete, I guess that means deleting their aura, which requires killing them, I guess. The Spider Kids attack, and some narration talks about the villain going to strike. Eggman asks why the egg grapes are powering up and not acting the way they were programmed. Yeah, why are they powering up? M uses some eye lasers and then carries Eggman away with super strength for such a thin body, as Adam is told to lock down the egg grape chamber. The narrator says that the act of loyalty by the Spider Kids has let him get the Sword of Acorns, and it causes a harsh dimensional breach that sucks Aurora and Aether to a portal. Oh wait, that's not what happens, because killing the creator of the universe would be kinda ridiculous. Instead, he ignores Aether and Aurora completely, and destroys the Ancient Walkers. So all 3 of them? I was wondering this earlier in the issue, but does this mean there were only a few of the whole species left? I saw plenty of them messing with Sonic when he got his billionth ring. The story ends with Mammoth Moggle bursting out of the Chaos Emerald, knocking Merlin out. In the next story, Snively is approached by Eggman in a hologram and is given the chance to join him in his biggest strike against Knothole yet, somehow bigger than the missile strike. For some reason, Snively hesitates and wants to have a minute to consider whether he wants to be with him. Like the comic is actually pretending that he'd stay with the good guys when he's always been one of the main villains of Sad AM. If they went back to the old swap out design, it's obvious to me what they're gonna do with Snively later. Even though it doesn't make as much sense because he knows what a bad boss Eggman can be and hates him. He goes to Hope, who says she's working on building her own plane as a project from Uncle Chuck. He tells Hope that the plane could take her far away from here. He tells Hope that she might benefit from going to be with her own people, which she can do since she has a plane and there's more human cities than Station Square all of a sudden, which makes sense that the humans would expand. After Snively calls himself her big brother out of nowhere, when he's too old to qualify, she should have a harder time forgiving someone who happily assisted in her father's death. The two of them hug as Hope says she'll think about traveling the world to go to a human city with him. Of course, his true goal was to get her out of Knothole so she'd be safe from Eggman's strike against it, since she's family and all. Unsurprisingly, Snively agrees to join Eggman because he's a predictable, one-dimensional villain who wants to rule the world so badly, and he's all smug and unrepentant about how many times he's been treacherous. Predictable plot is predictable. This issue was written by Ian Flynn. The first story is about Merlin coming back promising tales who'll help rebuild their family, and then after some talk using the crown to find the Sword of Acorns, the hero's plans aren't even able to take off, because the villain Anonymous gets the Ancient Walkers killed with the Sword of Acorns and makes Moggle break free. Why? Just for the evils? Also, how did he find out about the Ancient Walkers to begin with? Because this is the beginning of an arc, it's kind of hard for me to get invested since I don't know the reason for the plan of the villain. How did he get the Spider Kids to do what he wants and help him? Are they just that easily manipulated because they're kids? Or is it a whole they wanted to save the echidnas but didn't know why he wanted the sword thing? I don't really know his whole motivation. I'm hoping they'll explain instead of having him be evil for no reason. And the second story was just about Snively going back to Eggman because that's how it was since the beginning and since Sad AM, and because he's evil and knows he doesn't belong to the heroes. At the very least, the incredible predictability is accompanied with him doing something good and considerate as he tells Hope, since she's family, to leave Knothole in a desire to protect her.